We usually think of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum as a palace full of artworks and a courtyard, but on August 9th, the art will turn more active and interactive in a neighborhood block party. This will include activities inside the museum and outside on Evans Way. Among the contributors with an interactive studio project is a luminary from the museum's neighborhood Salon cohort. We'd like to welcome Silvia López Chavez. Thank you very much for being with us, Silvia.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start with this notion that we've grown up with here about the museum. This is a sort of a figment of preservation, but it sounds like what we are doing is about innovation, isn't it?
Very much so. I believe that this Luminary program, bringing a cohort of artists that are local, that are able to share their work, our work, and also interact with the collection and learn more about the collection, and also reflect about how that is, all this artwork, all these amazing pieces that are there relate to us today, and how we can respond to it in different ways.
Talk about your own experience with this museum, your discovery of it. What was that like for you when you were studying in Boston?
I started, my first visit there was when I was a student at Mass College of Art and Design, and I remember going in wintertime, and it was actually such a refreshing experience to come in and find this courtyard filled with green and flowers, and it was warm, and it was an amazing experience. It's so intimate, and since then I actually have been a big lover of that space. It is a home, but it's filled with all kinds of specific things that this one woman decided to collect. And it's a beautiful thing.
Now, more recently, you've been in a part of the museum known as the Tapestry Room, and I first encountered that as a kind of a subdued space, and these rugs hanging on the wall. But you've been having people in there, you're having discussions. What has that been like?
Well, that was one of the opportunities I had, was to share with this other artist, Sabrina Sandoval, who we had a kind of a question and answer for each other, as we also included the public in talking about our own perspectives on the collection, and also of ourselves as artists here in Boston. And it was really beautiful to see people interact in the space, because we move around and reacted to specific objects in the collections and talked about how they may represent things and how our own take on things are of those specific objects. And yeah, it was a really cool opportunity to just simply be able to look at the space in a new way, and ask the public and the visitors to also do the same with us.
Did it lead you to think of something differently than you did before?
Well, part of what I've been enjoying in my relationship with the Gardner Museum is that outside of being a luminary, I had the opportunity to be a polythyre star visiting artist, which allowed me to spend 3 months in the museum looking at the artwork in the first month and getting inspired by it, and then in the second month designing and thinking about artwork that I can create based on the current exhibition for the Life, Death, and Revelry, which is looking at the sarcophagus, the Farnese sarcophagus that is currently there, and being able to design also workshops that then are public facing, and we're actually teaching my own expertise in the visual arts and painting, drawing, and printmaking in different ways, in order to also connect to that exhibition in the studio. And that has been a really intimate experience, and being able to get to know people who work at the museum and actually have conversations with curators and with even with the director and some of the archivists and so on, and just being able to have that insight, it just opens up a whole nother relationship.
Well, you've had experience already in a relationship with the public when you've been doing murals. You recently completed one for Northeastern University, another at the Esplanade. What about the purpose of the mural at Northeastern? Because you can think of it as something like a painting, but also like graphic design too, right?
Yeah, so in murals, the murals and public art projects that I do bring me the opportunity to be able to blend these two passions of mine, which is fine art and illustration and also graphic design. And this is a perfect opportunity to blend the two. I feel like having the ability to do very render painting with contrasted with really graphic elements to tell a story is a beautiful thing, especially on a massive scale as like 300 square feet. Or 300 length and then 17 feet. It's about 5,000 square feet total for that particular wall. And so when you talk about scale, you really have to think about how you see it from really far away. And then as you're walking in and closer, how is that relationship when you're up close, right up against the wall? And so I think a lot about that and how those two things, being able to do a lot of very detailed work in painting, are contrasted with bolder, big graphics that can be seen.
In the case of Northeastern, this is right on the boundary of Rival Station. You're changing the look of things, but you're also changing how people react to that space too, right?
Very much so. Actually, during the time that we were working on the mural, it's simply putting the very bare bones of this drawing or blocks of color, people were already starting to come there more and asking questions and trying to figure out what are we doing and how cool it was, the fact that we're actually adding some color. When a lot of people started seeing more of the color, and at the end, when this was completed, a lot more people are using that space, which was one of the goals. And me being able to make that space a lot more welcoming and active is right across from the Writer Hall in campus, which is where a lot of the students in creative fields are hanging out. So it actually has been a very positive experience for all the students and the faculty there.
Well, on August 9th, you're also going to be involved in making the Gardner Museum more engaging for the community. What's planned for this block party?
There's going to be a lot of fun things for people to do. One of the things that I'm going to be involving is an actual workshop at the studio, and we're going to be creating prints on Mylar. The theme is Cosmic Cycles, and we're going to create collaborative pieces as well as pieces that people can take with them during this night. And it's all inspired by this idea of plant-based material and a lot of the clippings and things that the courtyard and the garden have, and talking about cycles of life and how in relationship to the exhibition is how a beautiful flower, a beautiful plant actually goes through these cycles as we go through seasons in life. And what does that mean when you actually think about the good, the bad, and the beautiful, as I call it. And so it's going to be really fun. It's going to be one of the many amazing performances. There'll be music, there'll be other kinds of on-hands activities for people to do, and I really encourage everyone to come.
And of course, there's more information. The museum's got the website with all the details.
Correct.
All right. Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
From the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, Silvia López Chavez.